Welcome back.
Hi, welcome back to Conversations with
Chris.
and Crystal. And I think we're just conversing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We were kind of talking about spiritual things and kind of like how does it work to be a Christian and yet all the things like ghosts and
Yeah, where are the ghosts?
Halloween
Are there
and
ghosts?
stuff like
yeah,
that.
and those kinds of things.
And when I was younger, it used to make me mad that the church that we went to was sort of anti-Halloween. They would talk about how, it's all about worshiping the devil. And I was like, well, when we were little kids, it was all about the candy.
Yeah, yeah. I did go trick or treating. I was very good at it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my mom, she used to be okay with it because as long as, she wasn't into the, you don't dress as a witch or as a devil or stuff like that. But, like my brother, he dressed as Batman one year and I was Cinderella. That kind of thing. But then as time went on, she got to the point where she was kind of like, I really don't like the whole idea of Halloween because of all the satanic stuff.
Yeah, and it glorifies Satan.
Yeah.
That was the whole idea of it. And I know they've got some other stories about that and which way things go, but
And I'm heading that way myself of not liking the idea.
Yeah. No, my husband has always been one. Why would you do something that glorifies Satan? In fact, he doesn't like anything that has devil in it. The word devil.
Like deviled eggs?
Yeah, well, and he eats deviled eggs, go figure. But I know he wouldn't buy like dust devils or, the vacuum cleaners that, no. In fact, I think there's such a thing as red devil pizza. No, we'd never be getting that. That would not be the case. But yeah, you're right. He likes the deviled eggs, and he doesn't pull any punches about that.
I guess you could change the name to like spicy eggs.
There you go. Actually, the way Crystal makes them eggs, because I'm sure there's
Crystal
many different
eggs.
ways. Yes, there's many ways to make them, and mine are very, very plain. So I don't know that it's really that deviled, but maybe angelic eggs.
Oh!
Yes, there you are.
Yeah, well, I was watching some videos because I had been watching like celebrity hauntings. I was really interested in that.
There's that key word.
Yeah.
I'm only interested.
And so for years I mean, I know if you die, you go up or you go down. There's no in between.
Yeah, that
So-
we got. Yeah,
So for that, I was like, there's no such thing as a ghost.
right.
I mean, but I thought, maybe there's such a thing as residual hauntings, which is like playing back something happened in the past, but there's no interaction with you as a living person and what was going on. But now I don't even know about that. But it kind of makes sense with the time aspect that like it's replaying over and over. I don't know, but that's another topic for another time. But
Okay.
But like ghosts, I know they're demons, and so I was watching
They
this
do exist. Yeah.
this episode. Well, not episode. It was a podcast. This lady was interviewing this gal who used to be a psychic medium, and that woman said it's all demons because
she became a Christian and and started looking at that. Yeah.
Because what happens is that something will happen, some weird incident will happen. And then that gets you interested.
Yeah.
And so you want to
curious.
find out more.
Yeah.
And I'm a naturally curious person. So, I was interested in these things. But after watching this, I was like, I'm not watching that celebrity hauntings anymore. I don't want anything to do with that stuff because this psychic medium was saying, too, that the whole thing about fortune telling with, telling the future and tarot cards, it's saying... it's just like in the Garden of Eden when Satan said, are you really going to die if you eat that fruit? Like, don't trust the Lord. You take control of your own life. And that's what you're trying to do when you're trying to find out about the future. You're trying to be God.
Yeah.
And so, I don't want anything to do with that anymore.
Yeah.
But you had some weird experiences.
Oh, I've had some weird experiences. I was talking to a lady at church recently, and lovely Christian woman, and the deal is that when I was growing up, our pastor really didn't want to deal with any of this kind of stuff. And it was happening because it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. And so there are things that happen. And they happen to Christian people too. And yeah.
Well, my opinion, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I've always felt like a Christian cannot be possessed by a demon because the Holy Spirit is in you, and there ain't room for more than one.
Yeah.
That's
Well, the one thing,
yeah.
one thing about that is now I had that problem with when Mom passed away,
Yeah.
and the Jezebel spirit was attacking me, and she was with me, attacking me, trying to kill me, which is what she does.
Yeah.
And she's the author of many different illnesses and ailments and all that kind of stuff. And you can go online and hear all about that. And so, because I wondered, how could that be? Because they prayed over me and then something left my body and all the pain went with it.
I think maybe what they can do is like attack you outwardly.
It was in my body though. I
How-
felt it go up my spine.
Ew.
Yeah, it was like a snake. And when I went back, she said, there's another spirit that follows Jezebel, which is Leviathan, which is the snake. And I said, I don't think we have that anymore because that's what
Because
left.
you felt it.
Yeah, I felt it leave.
See,
Yeah. It's like, what is up with that? Yeah. So if anybody's got any insight on that, that would be great. But I do know that, from past experience when I was younger, and again, my mother and all of her friends at church, there was an underground of women that went forth and prayed for people who were having trouble with demons and having issues and, to praying deliverance over them.
Yeah, and your mom used to do that for
Yep.
people while she had a Jezebel.
I know it. I
attached
know
to
it. Well, God can, use the jawbone of a donkey,
Yeah.
and he can use other people if they allow him to work through. That it doesn't stop them from doing that. And she was good at it, but I will have to give her credit. She did explain to me. I wish she had told me more, and I understood more. But one of the things was, greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. Always remember that this stuff that comes up is not greater than God. It's just not. Just being aware of what was going on around you and casting it out, and just eventually I would learn that it was as easy as be cast out in the name of Jesus, never to return. I had somebody else who said, well, they say go wherever Jesus sends you, because I think they're referring to the pigs when they said where are you going to send us, and then they died anyway. But go wherever Jesus sends you, be cast into outer darkness, pleading the blood upon you for protection, and a hedge of protection around you, and all that stuff. That was a big deal in that whole scenario.
That's another thing that I've found myself wondering about last night, actually, was some of the... Okay, so Satan, when he rebelled against God,
Yeah,
he took a third of the heavenly host with him.
yeah.
Now, some of them are supposedly chained in hell right now.
Okay.
But why were only some of them chained and the rest of them are out running around messing with people?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Well, I know, but I mean,
What was the
that's...
thought process there?
Yeah.
I don't know. If I do come up with an answer, I will be sure to convey that. I have not really researched that or looked into that, so I don't know.
So if any of you have any ideas on that, feel free to comment.
Yep. And I was talking to this gal at church, like I said, and she said, as a Christian, she goes, I guess I just feel like we just don't think about those things. And that's great. I don't have anything against that. My experience was when I was a teenager and growing up at church, had grown up at church. It was a singing group that we had put together there at the church, and we traveled every summer for 2 weeks around the country, different churches, ministering and praying for people and singing. And when we would go on a Greyhound type bus, a charter bus, and you did not have secular music, you did not have secular books, you brought only Christian materials, Christian music. We were just saturated in Christianity. I mean, we didn't have anything else coming in. And I guess that's what made me think, and that's when I ran into with another gal, we ran into a problem when because we stayed at people's houses that would go to that church. We would stay at their houses. So who are you staying with?
Yeah.
Well, who are they? Yes, they go to the church. This woman happened to be a new Christian. It was a new build construction house. It was all white. And her husband was not a Christian. So we ran into stuff in her house, the other gal that was with me and I. And we weren't, I knew some stuff. We actually went down to the bathroom to talk, and so it couldn't hear us. We were very young. We really didn't know.
Oh, and that psychic gal, well, former psychic,
Yeah.
she was saying that the demons, they tell the psychics stuff about you because they're always around. They know your past.
They know everything. Yeah.
They know everything about you.
Yeah,
They know more about your parents than you know.
Yeah,
And-
they just know everything.
yeah.
So I just have to laugh when I think about
I know.
that. But the what happened in that particular instance with her and I, there was a moment of doubt of something that had happened while we were performing, and some bad feelings between people that we were singing with. And she questioned me about it. She said, what happened? What happened? And I thought, don't question that. I just knew, we were in this little bubble.
So it kind of opened a door.
Yeah, it opened a door. It absolutely opened a door because there was a question. There was a doubt. And it was totally justified. I knew what she was talking about. I knew that it had not been handled well. And I just spoke that, and something attacked both of us in the room. Because if you're that so following God, so tight with Him, and that little bit of doubt comes in, which, obviously we could have taken care of it, we could, whatever. But no, this thing came running in, and we couldn't speak, we couldn't move, we were frozen. I couldn't talk, which is impossible. And she panicked, and she looked at me, and we had the lights out because we were laying in these separate beds in the bedroom that night. And she said, "I'm turning on the light. Crystal, I am turning on the light." And I jumped up suddenly, and I said, "Turn on the light." And she did. And she said, "Okay, what was that? What just happened?" And so we prayed together, and we ended up chasing that thing all night. And eventually, I'm pretty sure it was gone. But then the question was, why did this happen to us? Why was this significant? Or did we imagine it? That's a big one.
Yeah.
You do, we made up the whole thing. It was all in our head. So we were dreaming, I don't know. And we went back and forth with that. And then I told her, well, this lady's a new Christian, and I think she needs somebody to come and pray through her house. That's what I decided, because Mom was one who prayed through people's homes. And she said, well, it's on you. You bring it up. You ask her. So we were in there. I'll never forget, my girlfriend took this huge spoonful of cereal, and she had her mouth open, and she had this big spoonful of cereal going into her mouth. And the woman says to us, she goes, there's some ladies at church who pray through houses. And I was thinking about getting one of them to come, or the group of them to come and pray through the house. And I said, oh, what a wonderful idea. And Kim's looking at me like, okay, now what just happened? She said, okay, now we solved that problem. Now, why did this happen to us? Why did this happen? And we went back to the church. Because that's where we all met at, everybody was coming from all these different homes. And we went and talked to the pastor, who was our director, and we told him what happened, because, we're still trying to ascertain that we're not insane. And so we went and told him what happened, and he said, well, it's very good that you pled the blood, but you don't have to talk about it anymore. It's done. And so don't worry about it. And he and his wife left. They went outside for whatever reason, I don't know. And some of the other kids had heard us talking, so they came up and they said, what happened? What's going on? And we ended up telling that story 4 times in that period of time. The pastor never came back into the church. eventually all the kids got there and heard this story over and over, because they were like, what happened? What happened? Tell me again. What happened? Start over. And we told them these stories. 2 years later, I would find out that one of the boys that was right in front of me while I was telling this story was thinking about leaving the church, and he never did. He's still there with his family and his kids and everything, and still very active in the church. And because of the story that we told. And one of the things that because he was asking me, he said, well, wait a minute, now what do you do? How do you know this? How do you do this? I mean, how would I know? And I said, well, it's, in our case, there was that little bit of doubt. There was, and we don't know whose house we're in. What's lurking around the house? And we are protected. I will give you that. We were protected. There's no doubt in my mind when I look back. But it was definitely on the attack. It definitely wanted to create some kind of chaos. And then you just cast them out into outer darkness, never to return. I would eventually learn that. You do not stay up all night chasing them. And he wanted to know, what do I do if I find myself in that situation? And I said, well, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And, you just cast him into outer darkness, never to return. And I mean, this was very, very important to him, and I don't know why at the time, but obviously it changed his life to get that.
But the pastor who said, don't talk about it, quit the church?
No, he just went outside. We were packing to go. And for some reason, he never came back inside. The whole time we were telling this story, you'd think he would have come in at some point and said, hey, you guys, cut it, But he never did. So we were telling that story for a purpose. There was a reason that we were telling the story. So then she and I get on the bus together, and we're sitting there going, it's not good enough. I just don't understand why this happened. Or did it happen? Or are we imagining it? And we got to another church in Texas, and it was about 8 hours away. It was an 8-hour drive that she and I are bonking our brains out over this. And we get there, and one of the boys in the choir, his mom was there at that church. They had come down to visit us kids. And she also prayed with my mother through people's houses. So we went running to her, and we told, and both of us at the same time, poor woman. She was such a sweet, precious lady. And she said, most certainly you did experience something. She said, it did happen. But you didn't have to stay up all night. She said, you could have told it to cast into outer darkness, never to return, and be done. And have faith and believe and know that it was done in the name of Jesus. So that was, but she was able to confirm for us that something did happen. But I think to this day, my girlfriend probably would still ask, what was that for? She said, every time I see you, I see that night. She said, I just remember that night. But there were a lot. I mean, the fact that he stayed in the church, and the fact that there was just things that God uses in a way, and
he uses everything.
Yeah, it doesn't go void, and I did eventually learn how to cast them into outer darkness, never to return. I tend to get rotting chicken smell
when a demon's around.
Yeah, or something that's not supposed to be there, for sure. Yeah, that happened to me at church, and I was. We had classes, and there were people from all different churches. So again, you bring in all these people that you don't know, and you don't know what's coming with them.
Yeah.
They have their own, what's attached to them, what they bring with, and that we ran into a couple of them during these training sessions that we were having. But that day, I was in there alone. Jeff, my husband, was a part-time janitor there, and so I knew everything was clean because he was so fastidious about that. And I was fixing a table, and I was running from one end of the table to the other. And over here, it smelled like rotting chicken, but the garbage was over here, the trash can. And there was nothing in it. Because I went and looked. I thought, where am I getting the smell? Where is it coming from? And I kept going back and forth, and I just felt something wasn't right. Something was uneasy, and I cast it out, and the smell was gone. I just said, just gone, out. You have no place here. And that's, I don't know, even my mom used to say people come into your home, what do they bring with them? You don't know, and you want to have that hedge of protection around cleaning the blood upon your family and your home, and there's a lot of things we just But again, it's that you wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and these things that just.
Yeah, that's why there's that verse about putting on the whole armor of God.
Yep,
also.
that too. Yep.
But my mom's dad's family, they came from Germany and Czechoslovakia, well, before they were born, like their parents came from there. And they were Catholic. And my great aunt Tina used to see things like or like smell what she would call funeral flowers, and then
interesting.
Then she knew that someone was going to die.
Oh dear.
And,
Okay. It's whatever you hook on to it.
Someone she knew. But she was telling a story one time that she was cleaning. She was this woman. She cleaned. I mean, my dad was working on her TV one time, and this was back with the old analog TVs with the tubes and everything in the back.
Yeah.
And he had the back off of it, and she wanted to get in there and clean. He says, "Get back! This thing could shock you."
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's how fastidious she was. She was like, So she was cleaning, and she saw a pair of lips on her wall. And she said, and I touched them, and they were sticky. She had on a rubber glove.
Yeah.
So she says, so I went to get a washcloth to clean them off,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You're telling me you saw a
I
pair?"
know. That
and
only
you
happens in the movies when people leave things like that, yeah.
And you went to clean them without thinking, "Oh, why are these here?"
Yeah, where did they come from?
Yeah. But anyway, so later on, she said that it was also like two bars appeared like next to them, like a car windshield thing. And she found out later that a friend of hers, the daughter, had died in a car.
Okay.
So that's where that came from. But it just cracked me up about that. I just went to clean them, But I mean, so I think that, and my grandfather actually one time saw a headless woman at the foot of his bed when he was young. And of course, he got saved years later and that sort of thing. But, when odd things happen, you kind of wonder.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my mom and brother actually, and they were both saved at the time, they heard footsteps coming up my grandpa's stairs.
My mom used to hear footsteps. She used to hear footsteps in the house, and she knew something was there. Yeah.
And I don't think everything is always a demon.
I don't know about the footsteps. What would that be?
Well, I don't know about that. But my father, his brother had died recently, and my father kept praying and praying. Was he saved? Did he get saved?
Yeah.
I really hope he was saved. And then one night he was praying, and this loud banging started coming. And my mom said it sounded like it came from the middle of the house. And my brother and I were fast asleep. We never woke up. But my dad said that his prayers flew away. So that might have been, yes, he's fine.
Yeah.
Quit bothering me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it. We're done with that.
Scared the cat to death, too. She was in the basement, and my dad went and opened the door, and she went zooming out of there.
Oh, my goodness. Well, saying things about that, I went to have some allergy work done with kinesiologist, which is an extension of chiropractic. And she was working on, I can't remember, I know we were doing sugar, and we were doing something else that creates glucose. I can't think of the combination.
Flour?
No, I can't remember, but we were, we did one, and then when you come back after a week, after it processes, she'll ask, did anything happen while you were, did you find that you were sneezing, eyes watering, how did you feel, that kind of thing. So we had done one thing, and then we did sugar, and things happened. And I went back to her, and she said, did anything happen? And I was talking about this, that, and the other thing, and then I went, well, there was a couple weird things. I could hear Jeff in another room belching, and he was not home. And I could hear him put his keys on the counter, and he wasn't home. And I had to come out and find out. And she said, that the two that we were working on, as they were trying to process and reverse the allergen, she said it was playing tricks on your brain.
Yeah, they say too that sometimes if you're half asleep, you'll hear someone say your name really loud.
Yes.
And that's a brain thing too.
Yeah. So there's
I
things
had
that
happen
go
once.
on. Yeah, there's things that go on that I guess we have to discern. That's where discernment comes
Yeah.
in. That is that, your problem, or is something actually
Yeah.
going on? So you have to kind of look at that aspect of it, because your brain can play tricks on you.
Yeah. And then it makes you wonder, why does your brain play these tricks?
Well, in this case, too much sugar,
Yeah, well, yeah.
glucose running through the brain, causing it to be slightly off.
Yeah, one time, have you heard of exploding head syndrome?
Nope.
That's when you see like a bright flash of light and hear a loud bam, like something exploded.
Wow. I
And
haven't heard of that.
that happened to me one time.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, and to this day, I still think, what did I
Right.
really experience?
Yeah,
Because at the time, I thought it was the neighbor's water heater exploding.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yeah, the window. I saw this flash through the window. Well, there's no window on that side of the house.
Oh.
So-
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah, so I was like, wait a minute. Or was there?
Yeah.
It's like your memory plays tricks on you. And it's when you're really tired, sometimes
Yeah.
that can happen.
Yeah,
But-
I think that's true.
but
That's true.
that's the only time I've ever had that happen.
Yeah, and I get optic migraines.
Oh yeah.
Don't you love those? And they, according to the kinesiologists, they mean nothing. So what do you mean they mean nothing? There is something going on
Well-
that causes it to happen in your eye.
It's a nerve thing.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, because I used to get full-on migraines, and they would start with the visual disturbance.
Oh, okay.
They call it an aura.
Okay.
But it's like I could be looking at you, and like half
Right.
your face would be
Yeah,
gone.
right. I do that every once in a while. Yeah, I see them.
And then this squiggly line would come up.
Right, right, almost like a lightning bolt or something.
Yeah.
Kind of, and it grows. It gets
Yeah.
bigger, and then it gets smaller.
Kind of
again.
turns into like a
Yeah,
half circle,
yeah.
like a C.
Yep.
And then it would keep expanding until it went away.
Yeah, mine actually comes back down again.
Oh,
It goes,
yours does?
it goes up. Yeah, who knows? I have
Yeah.
no idea. But they say, oh, that's nothing. I'm like, oh, well, that's
Well,
good to know.
it's
I guess
disturbing though.
it is. You kind of wonder. There's got to be something that's there's a source of some reason why it happens. Something like you said. It could be a nerve. It could be an issue with the nerves. Well, okay, what is the issue with the nerves then that would cause them to do that? I mean, it just does. Oh yeah, it just happens. Well, my favorite is when I told one of the allergists. I said, okay, so what's the difference between things that bloom during the day and things that bloom at night? And he said it's dark. And I know there's different things that
Thanks,
bloom.
Einstein.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know there's different things that bloom, and because I have trouble at night, I can't do open windows. I love open windows. I mean, obviously not here in Arizona, but in Minnesota they're wonderful. But yeah, they are not really good for my sinuses. You can kind of hear it. I've been out of
I
town.
wonder if the dew has anything to do with it.
Well, actually, there are some plants that only bloom at night, not during the day.
Yeah, but I mean, dew also settles at night.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, they I mean, like I have trouble when people mow the lawn because it upsets the molds in the
Oh,
the
yeah.
ground and in the grass, and yeah, that can be almost mind blowing. I remember my stepdad had such bad allergies; he would go out and mow the lawn and come in, and he'd have to put cloths over his face because his eyes were all swollen. And yeah, it was horrid for him to take care of the grass, but he did it. He did it every time. Amazing. But yeah, I have trouble with that night air. I love it up in Minnesota. It's beautiful, but it's just not a real plus for me, being very sensitive. Well, we have just talked ourselves into oblivion here. And so if you have any words of wisdom or things to talk about with this subject matter, feel free to drop us a line and let us know, and what subjects you might like to hear us talk about.
Yeah.
We would love to hear that. So
So remember, Take
Take care of yourself because nobody else will. Bye for now.